As a little disclaimer, if you joined this channel for pure, unadulterated cyst popping action, this video is going to disappoint you. I have got a pore strip in there that I could just rip out now, get it on there and get you some yellow heads, but I'm not a dancing monkey, you sick butcher bastard. Long time no see. I wish I was making my grand return in better circumstances, but unfortunately, I am fucked. So back in November, I had 3 or 4 massive chest bleeds in a row, which put me in hospital. When I came into hospital, we found 2 massive blood vessels that were open, that kept threatening to leak. It's fairly common in people with cystic fibrosis to have blood vessels that are big and leaking, but mine were big then, apparently gigantic now, but we'll get to that. On top of that, I've had a mass in my chest since I was 16, and it's always been dormant. Every time we've tested it, it's always either got smaller or been the same size, and that was never considered to be a factor in, my chest health, and my lung function has always been high, and now it's still over 100%, which is really weird to be having this conversation, to be honest. This is why it's so difficult. So at the moment, there's 2 key things going on. These 2 chest vessels need closing because they keep bleeding, and there's no point in me waiting every few months to come in hospital to have an admission to do the same thing over and over. And also, this mass, after all these years, we now believe that this is causing the blood vessels, to be as big as they are, and it's causing problems. To treat the 2 blood vessels, I need something called an embolization, which is where they go in through your groin, they come up into your lungs, and they spray silicone. I came in November when I was pretty unwell, and they did discuss doing an embolization. Now at that time I was a bit overwhelmed with it, and I was a bit emotional because, I didn't want to go through it. So I came home and said, we'll see how it goes. Fast forward to April, and I've had a really bad bleed on Thursday night, which has put me back in hospital. They've rechecked this mass, and they've also rechecked the 2 big blood vessels that are open. And when I came in last time, it was kind of left up to me. There was no kind of urgency on it. They was kind of saying, well, it's all up to you. And it was a bit overwhelming because no one could give me what I should do, whether I should go through with this embolization, which basically carries, I think it's a 10% risk of paralysis and a 10% risk of stroke that many people recover from, but some people don't. So if you think about how well I am in general with a lung function over 100%, you start thinking to yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth putting myself through the potential recovery, the potential strokes? And when we say 10%, I know people will be thinking, oh, it's only 10%, they've got to tell you about that. But when we've talked about this, they have said it does happen, and it is common, and there's different varying levels of recovery from it. So if you think of me 2 months ago, running around on a squash court absolutely fine, to having the risk of having a stroke or being paralysed, it's a lot to take in. And they're now saying that they need treating, so I've got no choice other than to have an embolization and see how we go. They have suggested that they might need to remove this mass from my chest. Now that's a big surgery. That's pretty much taking a bit of lung. Because of the position of this mass, they're going to have to take around half of one side of my lung out. So long story short, by the end of this week, I should be having an operation to close both blood vessels, which I'm not looking forward to. And on Thursday, once all the experts have got together, they're going to talk about this mass which is affecting these and what we can do about it. I'm hoping that we can close these 2 blood vessels and then monitor the mass and not have to take my lung out, because that, in all honesty, terrifies me. I think while we're on this as well, some of this stuff is quite trivialised by people. So the whole procedure of closing the embolization, it's a fairly common thing with people with cystic fibrosis, but it's not common for everyone, and people react in different ways. And to be honest, I'm quite strong. I just go next steps, next steps, next steps. But when you get told something like that, it does you in. It's absolutely horrible. And especially with the threat looming of having part of your lung taken out. I've worked hard for 37 years to keep myself in the best shape I can be. And this just feels like a massive kick in the balls. Now I realise that I'm looking a bit rough and this update was really quick, but it's just an update to say that I'm back. I'm going to be filming this. I'm going to be filming the whole thing because on this channel I've always thought it was important to be open about what I go through, how I get through it, and my successes. And this will be a success. I'll get through it. It'll be a good turning point in my life. It can stop me going downhill to get me back to where I need to be. So I'm scared, I'm nervous, but don't worry, I'm going to absolutely kick the shit out of it yet again.